I think I'm pretty outspoken, and that's not probably a good thing in terms of a politician, but it's a good thing if you ever got elected, you can really do a job.
That's Donald Trump, Eric Trump's father and also the 45th President of the United States. Long before Donald enjoyed the sweet taste of gold, he preferred the silver spoon he was born with. We all know that past behavior is the greatest indicator of future success. With that in mind, let's take a look. Who really is Donald Trump? I'm Julianne Moore, and this is the story of the COVID patient in charge of America's nuclear arsenal. Donald John Trump made an excellent career move in 1946, being born to a very wealthy family in Queens, New York. He grew up in a 23-room, 9-bathroom, white-columned mansion in an exclusive, affluent, nearly all-white neighborhood. Friends who came over would be greeted by the maid, who would offer a platter of finger sandwiches with the crust cut off. It wouldn't take long for Donald to reject it all. His father, Fred, the son of German immigrant Frederick Drumpf, was a super wealthy New York real estate mogul. The tough and hard-driving Fred Trump achieved multimillionaire status by becoming one of the largest recipients of cheap U.S. government-backed building loans in the 1940s. Donald's mother, Mary, was a poor immigrant from Scotland. The two met at a party in Queens and married in 1936. They had 5 children, Donald being the second youngest of the bunch. When Donald was 2.5 years old, his mother became seriously ill, effectively abandoning him during a critical time in his childhood development. Thanks to a land trust set up by his father, Donald was literally a landlord at 3 years old, and he was making the equivalent today of $200,000 annually from his dad's empire, which is more than most 3-year-olds make. By the time he was 8 years old, he was a millionaire, meaning he could pay the babysitter himself. Shortly after Donald turned 13, the family sent him upstate to a military academy. It would be the closest he'd get to serving in the military. By the time he was 17, his father gave him part ownership of a 52-unit apartment building. And then he was off to college. He started at Fordham University and then 2 years in, transferred to the elite Wharton School undergrad program at the University of Pennsylvania. According to Donald's niece, Mary, Donald allegedly paid someone to take the SAT on his behalf, achieving a high yet fraudulent score, which he used to gain admittance to Wharton. At the time, Donald's brother Fred Jr. had a buddy named James Nolan who worked in the admissions office at UPenn. Fred Jr. asked Nolan to interview Donald as a candidate for admission. Years later, in an interview, Nolan recalled the encounter. "I certainly was not struck by any sense that I'm sitting before a genius." Yet it appears Donnie was accepted. UPenn awarded him a BS on May 20th, 1968. Trump claimed the school was the hardest to get into, the best school in the world. It's unclear how Donald performed at the school because Trump's attorney, Michael Cohen, was allegedly ordered to hide his boss's school transcripts. So it's safe to say he's probably super proud of them.
I'm talking about a man who declares himself brilliant, but directed me to threaten his high school, his colleges, and the college board to never release his grades or SAT scores.
While in college, Trump fought really hard to avoid the Vietnam War. He obtained 4 student draft deferments, even though he was fit and eligible for military service. After graduating from UPenn, he was eligible for the draft again. This time, he received a medical deferment for alleged bone spurs.
Numerous deferments because of college, and I had a foot thing, and I had deferment for that.
In 1971, at the tender age of 25, Trump was named president of his father's real estate company. He renamed it the Trump Organization. It was around this time he received a super tiny sum of not much money at all.
My father gave me a small loan of $1 million.
All in all, Donald received the equivalent today of $413 million from his dad's real estate empire. After fattening his wallet, he was seemingly looking to settle down. In 1977, Donald married Czech model Ivana Zelenskova. They had 3 children together, Don Jr., Ivanka, and Eric.
We get along very well, and there's not a lot of disagreement because ultimately Ivana does exactly as I tell her to do.
While his marriage was going extremely well, his new gig as president of the real estate company wasn't. He began making headlines for all the wrong reasons. The front page of the October 16, 1973 New York Times read, "Major landlord accused of anti-black bias in city." Of Donald's 14,000 apartments in 39 different buildings, the tenants were predominantly white. The Department of Justice charged Donald and his father with discriminating against black people in apartment rentals, violating the Fair Housing Act of 1968. So, who tipped the DOJ off? Black activists would apply for an advertised vacancy in a Trump building only to be told nothing was available. Then their white counterparts tried the same thing, and they were met with open arms and vacancies. An application filed by a black apartment seeker would be marked by a Trump employee as C for colored. A former Trump rental agent spoke to NBC about how he was ordered to handle the situation if a black person applied.
Fred Trump came into my office with his son Donald at his side. I asked him what I should do with the application of Miss Brown. He told me at that time to take the application and put it in the desk drawer, as he does not rent to people of color, utilizing the N-word. And Donald shook his head, agreeing with his father.
Caught, racist and red-handed, they went on the attack. Donald, along with Roy Cohn, famed McCarthyist lawyer and power broker, countersued the Department of Justice for $100 million in damages. But this countersuit was tossed out by the judge. In 1975, Donald and his father settled the original case. They were ordered to study